everyone, and welcome to the next GradCracker webinar. This week on GradCracker, we've seen lots of new placement and graduate opportunities added, and the number of employers who are opening their applications over the next few weeks. So make sure you go onto GradCracker Daily, make sure you check out the new employers with the new opportunities to find out more and to get your applications in. So today we're joined by consultancy firm Arup. And last year, me and Jess went to their London office to meet with the recruiters and graduates to find out more about the real Arup, who they really are, what they really get up to, and their recruitment processes. The above insight and this webinar can be found on their GradCracker Hub. Both will give you lots of information, which will be handy for you when you put your applications together. And remember to include all of this research when you apply. Right, let's see what's new with them and get to meet the panel. So we'll be speaking to Abby in a minute, and Abby is the early careers recruiter. So welcome, Abby. I thought you were going to say hi.
Oh, thank you for having me. Hi.
I was waiting for you to click off mute. And today we're joined by the graduates. So we have Mira, who studied at the University of Manchester and the London School of Economics. Mira studied a postgraduate degree in environmental policy and regulation. Mira, to start with you, what is your current role at Arup?
I am a city economics and planning graduate consultant, but usually that's quite a long title, so an economics graduate consultant also works. And I've been at Arup for about a bit more than a year.
Fab. And what is that role? So what do you actually do?
So I do a lot of work with economic development and economic analysis with anything related to cities. So I kind of see it as any sort of economic, social, or environmental evaluation related to anything in cities. So it's quite broad, and it also opens up for graduates to choose themselves where they want to specialize.
Fantastic, thank you. And moving on to Maria, so your current role at Arup, when you applied to your current role at Arup, you're actually from Milan. So what is your current role? And did you apply for a role within the UK or in Italy and then ended up moving to London?
Hello.
Hello.
I found the role of intern last year in my university in Milan, and the role was in London. So after the application, I joined Arup as an intern, and as an industrial trainee last year, and now I'm a graduate. I'm a geotechnical graduate engineer.
Fantastic. And what does a geotechnical graduate engineer do at Arup?
So in particular, I work in a seismic team. So my field is the seismic engineering. So we work on seismic hazard and risk, assessment of static dynamic analysis, slope stability assessment, and everything concerned, so the seismicity and earthquakes.
Brilliant. So really interesting. And as part of your role, I know probably not currently, but as part of your role, do you get to travel the world?
There is the possibility, of course. This last year was quite I was in London, but yes, so we work, we have a project all around the world, and I'm happy this last year I worked a project from everywhere. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Perfect. Thank you very much, Maria. And Shidi, last but not least, so you studied civil and structural engineering. You actually did a placement as well at Arup in the highways department, and then you went back as a graduate. So what was it during the placement that you really enjoyed to want to go back to Arup as a graduate?
To be fair, yeah, I did my placements in Leeds in my penultimate year of university. Leeds. Yeah, it's a nice city, to be fair. But yeah, I think Arup has quite a good reputation for like how they treat their employees. So I was probably more curious about that and just to see for myself. And I think I quite enjoyed the way that I felt to work with them. But from university, I don't really do a lot of highways, to be honest. So I kind of go into highways a bit randomly. But from doing that placement, I kind of understood a bit more, and I quite liked how highways projects are very multidisciplinary. So you get to work with geotechnics, with structures, with a lot of different disciplines, and yeah, I feel like that's what drew me back.
So a highways engineer, obviously not just stood on a motorway trying to figure out how it works. What is a highways engineer? What do you actually do?
So there's because obviously everyone sees roads everywhere, but no one really thinks about what goes behind them. But from, I guess, first thing we do is we would assess if a road is needed, how congestion works, and a lot of considerations really go into it. Just to decide if a road is needed, then you design the actual road and you talk to all the people involved, and eventually, hopefully, you get a road that would make everyone's life easier and reduce times for travel.
Oh, brilliant. And you're involved in, I'm guessing, projects all the way through from conception all the way through to the end when you open the road and it goes live and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been working 2 years now, so I've not actually seen a road get built yet, but I'm sure eventually, definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Jess will ask you a little bit more detail later on about your current projects that you're working on and everything else. So you can tell us a bit more about those then, if that's okay with you. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us today. And we're going to get a real good insight about who Arup is, everything that they do, projects and everything else. Now, Arup, I've worked with them for a number of years. As you all know, I've been with GradCracker for 10 years, and Arup has been advertising their placements and graduate opportunities on the website for all of those 10 years. They also include, their package also includes sponsoring the GradCracker toolkit as well. Now, if I was to describe Arup, I would say that they're a firm of designers, planners, engineers, architects working on projects, some fantastic projects across the world, all of which can be found on the Arup hub on GradCracker. You might not know, but some of Arup's recent accolades include being named Infrastructure Architect of the Year 2020, and also one of the civil and structural engineers at Arup, a lady called Joda Silva, recently received a damehood for her contribution to humanitarian relief. So as you can see, just from meeting the grads and some of the stories that I've just told you, Arup is a fantastic company to work for. Now, the details of these stories and many more can be found on the hub, so make sure you go read them and really study Arup before you start applying to their opportunities. Abby, we're going to meet you now. You're off mute. So could you give the audience a bit of an introduction to who you are and your role within the business?
Absolutely. So hi everyone, thank you so much for coming. I am Abby, I'm a senior recruiter within the early careers team, and my main focus is recruiting into our building sector across the UK for graduates, interns, industrial placements and apprentices, and I'm part of a wider team that also look after our infrastructure consulting sectors. And then another area that I look after is business services and corporate services as well. So you're more sort of finance, marketing, business development, and sort of that side of the business as well.
Thank you, Abby. And if a student was to apply to Arup, would they get to meet you during the application process?
They may do at some point. We do have multiple sectors, and there's only one of me. So we do have a wider team, a large team who look after different sectors. If you apply to one of our buildings or business services roles, there's every chance that you will meet me at either an assessment centre briefing if you're successful, or at the assessment centre itself. So I may be a familiar face, I may not, but if not, somebody else will be.
Perfect. Now you've got a face to a name as well, like Abby on this webinar. And so I've kind of briefly described who Arup is. Now, what would you say makes Arup unique as a consultancy company?
Absolutely. So there's sort of one key area is in that we're employee owned, so it does make us unique in the consulting marketplace. So I'm sure that if any of you here today have listened to anything or read anything on the hub at GradCracker, you'll see that this is probably referenced. This means that on a global level, lots of barriers to business can be removed. It really promotes collaboration within the organisation because decisions are made for the company globally. And as a graduate, you will feel this in sort of what we offer you from a benefits perspective, the sort of global profit share and the elements of being employee owned really do come into that. Obviously, I can't disclose too much detail on this call, but you will absolutely feel the benefits of being part of an employee owned organisation. And also it's sort of the synergy between engineer and architect. So you've got design and science coming together to come up with some really amazing designs, which I'm sure that some of the team will reference later on in the course. So for me, that's kind of two of the key areas that I think we make ourselves unique.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Abby. And just to put into perspective for the students out there who are thinking about applying to Arup this year, obviously I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that you do still have some placement and graduate opportunities open. Now, what does the recruitment process look like? I know it's different for everybody. Sometimes some employers are still a little bit uncertain how they are going to recruit. What does it look like from Arup's point of view?
So for graduates, you will submit an application and you'll be screened based upon the eligibility criteria outlined in the role description. So word of advice there, please do make sure that you have looked at the requirements for the position before applying to avoid disappointment. It might be that there's another position that's actually more suited to you and relevant for your skill set. And we do put a lot of thought into doing that so that should you join us, you'll be in a good position to succeed. So if you meet the criteria, you'll be invited to complete a situational judgment questionnaire, which is designed specifically for Arup around our core values. So to prepare for this, there are lots and lots of resources available online. So they're free. You can take free situational judgment questionnaires for as long as you want to get used to the style of questioning. It's quite interesting. It'll ask sort of which behavior you're most likely to demonstrate and which you're least likely to demonstrate. So it's a really interesting way of looking at how you might behave, but it's a really great way of reducing bias in our process because it does not need any kind of specific background or experience to do, which is exactly sort of how we recruit anyway. Should you meet the benchmark for this, and just sort of from a confidence perspective, most people absolutely do. We will then progress you to the next stage of the process, which is a recruiter review. So myself and one of the team will look at your profile. And this is where we look at the answers that you give on your application form. We do ask questions. They're designed specifically by the hiring managers for that position. And they really want to delve into why you've applied to the role, why Arup, for example, and it might ask you a role or discipline specific question for you to really give some thought to. So please do take your time for that. It's not a tick box exercise. They are used through the process to really see kind of what this opportunity means to you and what your understanding of the role is. Then if you're successful following that, you'll be progressed to manager review, where one of our or a number of our hiring team will look at your profile and decide if they'd like you to attend the assessment centre. So until this point, the only action on your part has been to submit a very strong, well thought out application to us and complete a situational judgment questionnaire. And then the final stage is an assessment centre. And we're running all of those virtually this year. And again, we can give more detail on that at a later stage, but those are the key stages. For placements, it's slightly different. You will submit an application, and if you meet the criteria, you'll be passed to recruiter review, and then again to manager review if your answers and application are sort of strong, and then the hiring managers from whichever role you've applied to will decide if they'd like to invite you to an interview. So it's just an interview, not an assessment centre for placements and interns.
And I'm guessing, Abby, that the interview will be a virtual interview as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And how long normally does the whole process take from, submitting your application via GradCracker to hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody being successful? What's the kind of timescale there for the students and the graduates?
Good question. It really does depend. I wouldn't be able to give you sort of a specific answer on that one. We open some roles in October and some at the end of November, and we hold assessment centres from December. So it will really depend on which role, which location, and when we went live. So I wouldn't be able to give a specific answer. We do provide application updates as regularly as we possibly can. So if you are waiting on an update and you haven't heard anything, we do endeavour to make sure that you know kind of where you are in the process and how long it might be until you hear back from us.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Abby. So just remember that the core values that Abby mentioned as part of the application process are also on the Arup hub on GradCracker. My colleague, our colleague, Verna Jess's colleague, Hannah's actually written a bit of a blog as well about really deciphering job descriptions, making sure you thoroughly read them, how you interpret them as well. And I think Abby's just mentioned that as part of her, your hints and tips. So if you look onto GradCracker, the careers menu, the top menu, the careers centre, click on that. And Hannah's written a really good blog about all the hints and tips, how you read a job description. So maybe that's really good advice after the webinar. Go and read that. Hannah's adding to that section every single week now. So go read that, and then obviously read the Arup job descriptions really carefully before you get your applications in. Thanks, Abby. We're joining you right at the end of the webinar as well for some exciting key facts about Arup, which I'm looking forward to. And I'm going to hand over now to Jess, who's going to speak to the graduates.
Yes, I want to say hi to everyone as well. It's my first time back in the new year, so hi everyone.
I've told everybody, I've told Jess that she has to behave herself, because all day she's been singing Anna Maria, but she's been singing
don't get me.
I was like, Jess, you're going to end up doing that on the webinar.
Song. You were talking about names early, weren't we, Myra?
We were.
Well, not to call Myra, but we were saying about names and, you know, Maria, the Blondie song. Have you ever heard this Blondie, the singer? Yeah. Just had that in my head all day. And Carla's like, don't start singing, Jess. Or start
doing our age, because Abby's nodding. I think you're a similar age to me, Abby.
I think we're getting old, guys, aren't we? Anyway, sorry. Sensible head on. So going back to the interview process, guys, and in kind of your experiences so far. So the interview process, am I right in thinking, is broken up into 3 areas. I'd like to hear a bit about kind of the areas in your experience. I'm going to start with you, Chidi, if that's okay. Because you didn't go through the application process as a graduate, did you? You went through when you were a placement student, is that right?
Yes. So I did go through the application normally through GradCrack, actually. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand from my friends that applied as well, I understand there was a phone interview, then you get selected for an assessment center. Mm-hmm. Then if you succeed, then you get employed. But for me, I applied to GradCrack and I went straight to the assessment center. I think because they used feedback from people I worked with when I was working in Leeds to get past the phone interview stage, because I guess there's no point. But yeah, then it was straight to the assessment center. And yeah, would you want me to talk about the assessment center itself?
Well, what I was thinking of really is kind of like the preparation.
Okay.
You know, how did you prepare for it? So any of the students that are listening now, you know, you mentioned, you know, like hints and tips and things like that. How did you prepare? How did you kind of get yourself in the right kind of frame of mind to, you know, put yourself across the best way you did?
Yeah, I would, to be fair, I thought I was a nervous wreck.
And that's so funny because a lot of people say that.
Yeah. I think definitely, like, I think until you get there, it's always made us be the biggest thing in your head. Then you get there, once you start talking, then you actually realize, okay, actually, maybe I do know what I'm saying, maybe I can do this kind of thing. So I think it's just important just to, you obviously do your research and know your stuff, but at the same time, just try not to stress too much about it.
Yeah.
I would say.
So again, research is something we say every week, don't we, Carla? How important it is. Again, Hannah's done quite an interesting blog as well, you know, like what Carla mentioned, you know, but, you know, understanding how to do your research as well is really important as well. Understanding the kind of key points that, you know, a recruiter would want to hear, so you can kind of show off that you've done it. So yeah, research is key, and by the sounds of it, Chidi, be yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a really important one as well, because I think it's quite obvious if you're putting on the front, to be honest, ultimately. And I feel like you just want everything to be as natural as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think at the end of the day, like, people are looking for people they're going to work with in the future. So you want to really convey that. I smile a lot, I think. Yeah, be happy.
Yeah, cheeky smile. That's how I wing life. Mira, I'm going to talk to you a bit about the assessment day, if that's okay, and how you prepared for that. Obviously, we know your experiences might be slightly different to the students that are going to go through it this year, but I suppose a lot of it will still be the same in terms of, you know, how you prepared and what got you through it. So could you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so for my assessment day, it consisted of like 3 main exercises. One, which was a technical exercise, where we kind of were presented with an exercise, and then we had 45 minutes to write down an answer to it.
Right.
Then an interview where we went through the technical exercise, but then also kind of had standard interview questions, and then a group exercise where you're presented with a group task, and then you're supposed to solve that all together with the group. And I overall thought it was quite a nice experience. Like Chidi, I was also quite nervous, and I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself and you're like building it up. But HR and the senior management who were interviewing me were really friendly, and it was more relaxing than I had expected. And even the people who were a part of the assessment day as well were really friendly. So it wasn't any kind of, I don't know, like fierce competition in between one another. I felt like people were quite friendly. And in terms of like preparation, I read up and researched on Arup values, but then also joined one of Arup's like chat platforms to know a bit more about the work that went behind the team. And yeah, I guess I just tried to find get an understanding of like what the team did, and then how my skills and academic background fitted with what the team did. And then I think it's also especially for me, it's quite good to kind of like practice the interview questions as well. So one of my flatmates, she did like a mock interview with me, and I helped her as well for a different position though. But it's quite good because sometimes if you're kind of going through answers in your head, it might sound very different from what you actually managed to say. So sometimes it's nice being able to kind of say it out loud as well. And I thought overall it was quite a pleasant experience compared to what I had expected.
That's good. And I think there's a really good tip in there, because again, I've had a lot of calls lately with, careers advisors, and again, doing presentations over Zoom and stuff like this. And any of the students that are listening, I know how hard it is to imagine to be on Zoom like this and, turning your camera on, asking a question. But if you can practice doing that, because I can imagine, Abby, that's probably how it's going to be. It probably will be virtual. So, if you've got, anyone that you could ring virtually and practice kind of maybe doing a bit of an interview over Zoom or Skype or whatever kind of platform you do use, because we all know it is slightly different talking over and doing and presenting yourself in a way, virtually. It is different. So do practice that, anyone that's listening, because it is different. So turn your cameras on, turn your mic on, and have a chat and go practice that process. I'm sure it'll definitely help if you can.
And I think Jess, as well, when just looking back to the Insight Day that me and Jess went to last year, a massive thing that came out of it when speaking to the recruiters at Arup and also the students and the graduates as well was communication. Communicate with Arup all the way through the process, whether it is the interview, the assessment centre, any questions that you've got all the way through to starting out on your placement or graduate opportunity as well. The key message that I remember we took away, Jess, was communication. Abby and her team are there for you to ask questions, so don't sit there at home worrying and getting stressed about things. If you just need to pick up the phone or pick up Zoom or Skype or whatever and get those questions answered. But I think that's something that came out of the last Insight.
All questions ask, and I think Abby, you just want to see someone who's curious and generally interested in Arup, don't you? So that research and asking those questions will definitely help.
Yeah, and I'll just add as well, if that's okay, is that, myself and the team aren't, they're going to be the ones that will be meeting you. It'll be people who are actually in these positions. So the people that will be interviewing you are somebody who could be your potential line manager or someone who heads up a team. So these people are so passionate and they want to see that. So, the advice to ask questions isn't so that you're going to know all the answers to all the questions, because you probably won't, and we wouldn't expect that of you. It's so that you will have a really deep insight into what you're getting yourself in for, and then you can have a really nice two-way conversation with your interviewer about how that actually works in practice. And so, that is it's really important that our process is around the business meeting you and then making that decision and you making that as well. So sorry to railroad that slightly, but I just thought it'd be useful to add.
Yeah, definitely.
Good point. Thanks, Abby.
Maria, before I start singing at you again, question for you, my love. I believe you had the opportunity to demonstrate what you had learned at university when you were in your interview. You did it, am I right in saying that you had a kind of a theoretical and a practical kind of point of view? How did you kind of present this in your interview? Was it slightly different? And tell me a bit.
Yes, because I started as an intern. So for me, I had an interview after sending my curriculum, and it was a really interesting conversation. So first of all, I completely agree with what Chidi and Mira just said, because it's exactly that. So you have the opportunity to demonstrate what you learned. And I was quite stressed about it because I didn't know precisely what to expect. But actually, it was a lot of theoretical questions. So I got prepared before the interview. I took back my my material of the exam of seismicity, and then it was just a conversation. So they asked me a lot of questions and a lot of questions about how I could apply my theoretical knowledge.
Yeah.
And it was nice. It was an opportunity for me to demonstrate, as you just said, how passionate I am and how I wanted to give my contribution to Arup.
Yeah, that's really good. And Maria, I know you were also asked at the interview, which one of the questions, I don't know if you still use this, Abby, but I thought it was a really good one. What do you think you could offer Arup as an employer? So you kind of answered that slightly in terms of, on a technical point of view, but tell me a bit about your answer, the answer you gave there.
Yeah, so exactly, Abby mentioned it. So in Arup, everyone is really skilled, passionate, they really are really interested in engineering in their own field. So I just demonstrated too during the interview. I wanted to show my motivation, my dedication, my energy, and yeah, the hardest thing I think it's believe in yourself. So maintain the focus, keep calm, and remember that you are talking with people. So it's not it's someone that wants to grab the opportunity of hiring you if you demonstrate that you fit the job. So I think this is my thing, the thing I'm meaning. So yeah, that's what I wanted to demonstrate. That I really wanted to give my contribution.
Brilliant. It's interesting as well lately, and for the students that are listening, hopefully some of you will be members of STEM societies, and if you're not aware, we offer any STEM societies a free space on GradCracker to promote their society, and also to promote their society to the employers that advertise on GradCracker. And Georgia, who kind of heads that kind of area up and works a lot with the societies, it's a big thing that we're seeing at the moment. Being part of anything that's kind of an extracurricular activity, anything that's outside of your degree course, is a great thing to also show how passionate you are about what you're studying. And it's a great thing to talk about, when you are at an interview, and you're kind of going through about stuff that you are interested in, about the company and things like that. And I think don't underestimate how that is quite a good thing to talk about when you're at an interview process. If you're a second year student, you might not have that much on your CV at that kind of early stage of your career. You might not have maybe done a part-time job or anything else, but anything else, things like being part of a society, or I don't know, anything, charity work, anything else, just to kind of show off again those extra skills, how passionate you are. And if you can apply that in any kind of way to the role or employee that you're applying to, I'm sure, Abby, they're the kind of things that you want to hear, don't you? Brilliant. Okay, so next question. So how were you all told that you were successful with the job, and how did you prepare for your first day? So Chidi, going back to you, how did you prepare for your first day of work?
Yeah, I guess how I was told what job, I think I got rung up by Mike Bishop. I don't know if it still works. Yeah, but yeah, he called me. I was so excited. I think I was like screaming at food just because, like, yeah, my first job offer. I was like,
oh,
I need next year. I can move out from home. No, and yeah, so yeah, I think like most people, first day of work, you like wear your like nicest shirt, wear a suit and a blazer. Then you get to work and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like, what are you doing?
So is it quite casual then at Arup? Is it?
So I say smart casual, but definitely I rarely said wear a tie.
Right.
Maybe you wear shirts and trousers, but like maybe not a tie.
I can imagine all suited up in it.
Yeah, literally, yeah. like full on have a blazer on, like full of suits. I think I bought a new suit to wear, and they're just like, yeah, what you did. But yes, I think very quickly, all the nerves of like starting the new job quickly disappeared, and I just got to know the team, and I think there's a lot of emphasis on just like them trying to get you to meet everyone, and just like I think my first day probably just spent like I think because they assign you a buddy and you have one person that you can basically ask anything. Yeah. And I think for like an hour he just took me around the office, meeting people. Something.
Oh, that's good.
So so it's quite a nice start.
Yeah. To have just having someone, I can imagine it was just nice to. So yeah, the buddy's a really good idea. Mira, how about you?
So they called me to say that I was successful with the job, which was really nice. But in terms of like preparing for the first day, like Chitty, I also dressed up probably way more than I do to work now. But I overall think it's better to overdress than underdress. I feel like it's better to put in more effort than too little.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the first day was more kind of like introductory, getting to know the team and those kind of things. So it wasn't too intense. And they didn't actually give anything specific to prepare for either. So it wasn't like you kind of dove straight into work. It was more kind of setting up everything. But I guess, yeah, it was just like filling in kind of forms and stuff like that.
Yeah. Can I get
nothing too?
Yeah.
Maria, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, brilliant. Maria, I'm kind of guessing it was quite similar for you, is it?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's the same. It was more preparing a mental state of, okay, new experience, new colleagues, new everything, and just go there. And but people were super nice. And it was first days were more inductions days to make you be comfortable with Arup.
Perfect. So next question, can you all kind of set the scene for me a bit? So if you can give me and the audience a bit of an idea of what your teams look like now, for example, who do you report to? Obviously, Chidi, you've mentioned like a buddy. Have you still got that buddy, for example? And, you know, the kind of support that you've got, you know, in those kind of early kind of couple of months into kind of the graduate program and the schemes and the roles that you're in. So Chidi, starting with you, tell me a bit about that.
Okay. Do I still have a buddy? Well, to be fair, I am now someone else's buddy, so I don't know if that still means that I don't know if the chain continues forever.
Oh, okay. I hope you're looking after your newbie though, are you?
I'll try my best. But yeah, in terms of how I report and stuff, I think when you start, you're given like there are a few angles of people that you can talk to. So you have your line manager who handles, I guess, your work hopefully the whole time you're there. Your project manager. Your appraiser. So there are a lot of people that look at different aspects of your job. So for example, if you have some issues with your projects, you can talk to your project manager. But if you can't talk to your project manager for some reason, you can talk to your line manager. If you can't talk to your line manager, you can talk to your appraiser. So I think that's good in terms of it has a lot of angles where you can, if there's an issue, you can try and solve it. But
you get exposed to some quite senior people then quite early on, don't you? You know, you've got.
Yeah, so I think one of the things with Arup as well, because I guess you'll hear there's like no hierarchy in terms of you'd have your director sat next to you kind of thing. So I think it breaks that barrier quite quickly and makes it quite easy. Yeah. Rather than having to knock on someone's door in an office or like booking an appointment, you can literally just like walk up to anyone. Yeah. which I think it took me a while to get used to be honest. Because people are like,
I can imagine, you know, especially on your first day, again, those nerves, you know, feeling a bit exposed, having a director sat next to you, but it must be so beneficial for you to be, as an individual, to, you know, show off and, you know, hear what they're saying, learn from them and have all that kind of crossover.
Yeah, and I think even having just normal conversations in the office, like it gives you the opportunity just to speak to everyone, because I think I think like Mario was saying before, like you almost forget everyone's just like a normal human being at the end of the day. Yeah. And you just need to break those barriers. So you can,
I think a lot of people think that about you, Abby, as well. You know, as recruiters, I think they've got a lot of, you know, the recruiters like, oh, I'm like, I promise, they're just like me and you. They're just
like taking notes.
Mira, how about you?
Yeah, quite similar. I mean, we're a team of about 60 people, but then we're about 22 economists. Right. And then one person in the team, usually like a senior consultant or something, is your line manager. But then for each project, there will be a project manager who will be the person that you report to for that project.
Right.
Yeah, so I think I agree with Chidi, like it's quite flat, the hierarchy. So it isn't just like one person that you report to and then the other people aren't really people that you communicate with. Yeah, it's quite laid back, I feel like. Yeah, which is quite nice.
Mira, how are you finding out? I'm assuming obviously you're working from home, like as we all are at the moment, where we can. Yeah. How are you finding that? Are you still getting that exposure in terms of, you know, being able to speak to everyone in your team? And
yeah, I still feel like it because we have a lot of meetings and Teams calls and so on.
Oh, yeah.
And Arup was really good in the beginning because they sent all employees equipment and everything, so the home setup is quite nice as well.
Yeah, oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and we still work collaboratively on projects, so we still like I would report directly to my project manager across projects as well, so I still feel like we've managed to keep that level of interaction even though we're working from home.
Yeah.
But I guess it's quite different because now we don't have the same opportunity to, for example, like have lunch and so on together. So it's more up to like individuals to organize, I don't know, virtual lunch and that kind of thing. But we do have more team catch-ups and so on just because it's lockdown and it's nice for people to kind of check in on one another.
Brilliant, yeah.
As well. Yeah. So I feel like there have definitely been measures taken to make sure that people are still kind of, I don't know, chatting to one another.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
And I always try and like to make this point because again, you know, obviously fingers crossed with everything that's going on at the moment, we might be in a better place when these grads and these placement students start with Arup, but you know, we don't know what the situation is going to be. So, you know, bearing in mind, you might have to do a bit of the onboarding from home, and it's just great that, you know, Arup are offering a support network and, you know, can offer that, you know, kind of process even from the luxury of maybe your bedroom or wherever you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. Maria, sorry, I keep ending with you, so you might feel like it's all been said, but have you got anything to add to that? And tell me a bit about, you know, kind of how you found it.
Yeah, in my team, we are actually not a lot of people. We are between 5 and 10 people. Someone arrived, someone changed the team, so it's quite flexible. So I'm trying actually to support all the members of my team. Everyone has different kind of specialization, so I'm trying to give them support to all of them. And yes, as they said, so you can relate with everyone. Everyone is really nice and open to help you if needed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Typically then, Maria, how long will you stay as that team for? Is it until the project's done and finished, or do you kind of move on before that or after? You know, how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, so since we are a small team, we are always working together. We have continuous, like every week meetings to understand at which point everyone is of the project, if they need support. So we are in continuous contact and trying to understand where we can help.
Yeah, that's good. Sticking with you, Maria, where do you kind of see your role progressing now at Arup? And, you know, a lot of you all have mentioned training, again, the buddy scheme and things like that, and having that exposure with different members of the team, whether being senior or not. So kind of where do you see your role going, and how do you see Arup kind of helping you to achieve that goal?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because so I really see Arup helping me finding the direction that I want to follow. So this is Arup has such a lot of fields and helps graduates to try to get a multidisciplinary knowledges and understanding that I know for sure that I want to improve my abilities in programming right now. and to improve my communication skills, to increase my network in Arup. And so this next couple of years, for sure, I want to focus in learning everything I can. And then maybe I will know better where I see myself also in the next years.
Yeah, brilliant. It's great that you've got that support and Arup can offer all that.
Yeah.
Very lucky. Mira, how about you? So your progression, where can you imagine yourself, and where what's your goals? Have you got a 5-year plan?
Those questions can be so terrifying.
I suppose it's right on in your career.
I don't know what I want to do in 5 years, but no, but I feel like at Arup, at least on our team, you've given a lot of like flexibility in terms of what areas you want to specialize in. And I think that's also because of the nature of my work is quite broad. So you kind of have to choose what fields you're more interested in, I guess. And I guess, at least in my case, there's no kind of like formal training schedule, but it's more up to me to identify what skills I want to learn and what courses I want to develop, and then find those and then make sure that they're aligned with the skills and the areas that I want to specialize in. And I guess that's kind of how I see myself progressing at Arup. Like I want to get more skills that are important for our team, but then also hopefully get more responsibility and grow from that. Because there since there isn't any like formal training schedule, it's kind of up to you to kind of make your own path as well.
Would you say then you've kind of been involved in something that you probably didn't realize you were interested in, or, you know, even think your career could kind of go in that direction? Has there been any surprises so far?
Well, yeah, actually, I think one of the surprises is that it's been quite flexible in terms of where we can specialize and go into, as well as the work in my team is that a lot of it isn't necessarily just quantitative economics related work. A lot of it can also be work related to social value. So I think even though that isn't directly related to engineering, I think one of the points to draw from that is that the fields in Arup can be so much bigger than I think that you can expect, also because that the projects that Arup gets put on are quite big and interesting as well. So it isn't usually just like one type of project in one field. It's usually more diverse than that. And in general, my impression is that across all teams at Arup, it's quite multidisciplinary as well. So you also get exposed to like other teams and like what they're doing as well. And I feel like I always always like meet different professions and like learn about new things that people do that I didn't know existed or that I knew that Arup had.
So no wonder why really then that question was a hard one. Because
exactly.
You see what I mean? Knowing what I know now, you think, oh, bloody hell, you could go anywhere. You could do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've just sworn
you
again.
Can do that. Yeah.
But you know how great's that? You know, it's almost, you know, like, you know, you could have multiple careers within one company.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're definitely expected to like specialize and develop skills in certain areas, but there's definitely room to get exposed to different industries as well. Yeah. Brilliant.
Chidi, have you got anything to add to that in terms of where you see yourself going? Have you got a plan, or are you
yeah, I've not got anything written down on paper, but I think we'll probably.
This is recorded. We can come back.
Yeah, I'll call you 5 years from now.
Can we do this every week? I think the main one for me is probably to finish my chartership and become a chartered civil engineer, because I think Arup is quite good with your development. Like Mira said, you have to like identify things yourself and put the work in. But if they're quite good at finding. So, for example, if you need some extra experience in commercial related things, they would like try to put you on a project that could give you the skills. So I think, yeah, I think Arup is a good place to do your chartership. So I'm going to definitely work towards doing that. Hopefully less than 5 years from now, but
good. I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, a lot of the audience that are listening, that's a massive drive for them. You know, it's something which they, you know, really, really want to do, and again has that as a bit of a career goal.
yeah.
So that's good that you've mentioned it, and it's great that Arup obviously offer that too.
If I can add something, just
of course you can.
Yeah, Chidi said something really true. So I really appreciated the colleagues that I've worked with. After every project, they asked me a feedback if I liked what I did, my role, if I prefer to be more on management or more on other aspects. And I really appreciated it. So they'll give you the opportunity to also visit all the fields of Arup and to select the one that makes you happier and more satisfied.
Which is good. And then having that guidance and support there.
Yeah. That's
brilliant. Fantastic. Quickly, sorry, Carla, I'm going to eat into your time. I've got time. Is projects, just to give everyone a bit of an idea of so far, since you've been here at Arup, have you done anything that's been a bit of a career highlight so far? Whether it be something you're proud of, whether it be a presentation or something you're involved in. Chidi, starting with you. What would that be?
I'll just try to rewind.
You haven't zoned out, have you? Question was, do you know what the question is?
Yeah. I got you. Career highlights. I mean, to be fair, in general, like I think like anytime I get given a problem and I come up with a solution, I think that's always like a mini highlight.
Yeah.
But I'd say probably the biggest highlight was working on the 817 scheme, which is like a highway in the Cotswolds, so an area of natural beauty, and we're trying not to destroy it, basically, while also adding a road in. Well, we had a public consultation session with people that lived there, and we had a day in the like town council, and we just talk to the local community about the scheme, and we had like VR headsets and stuff and some very fancy things. But I think it was just nice to engage with the people that were actually building these things for. And I think that was quite a nice opportunity to just like talk to them and just see what they thought about it. And yeah, I think that was because the response was positive mostly, then it was very fulfilling.
Yeah.
I can see you could probably go
either way. Hear what you've done or what you've done.
Yeah.
It'd probably be different. But no, I can imagine it's nice to see, you know, your work then in, you know, real life, and you know, getting that response to it off, you know, other people must be. And again, as you kind of all, you know, progress in your career, you're going to probably see that more and more. You know, you're going to drive past something or you're going to see something, you think, I was involved in that, and it must be a lovely feeling, and you know, really pat on the back. So no, I like that, Chidi, well done. Mira, how about you?
Well, I recently worked on a project with C40, which is this climate organization consistent of like different mayors across cities.
Brilliant.
And Arup was commissioned to basically support them with prioritizing different climate actions.
Okay.
So I did a whole bunch of I supported with some cost modeling for that. And it was quite cool because it's like the first piece of work that I've worked on, which kind of resulted in something being published.
Wow.
So that was quite nice. Yeah. And also the work was quite interesting because it's quite topical, but it was also kind of prioritizing climate actions for after COVID. So for kind of like a green recovery.
Okay.
So I learned a lot as well.
Again, you kind of reaping the kind of rewards, you know, the years of studying, doing your degree, and then, you know, being able to now apply it to something which is, you know, beneficial to everyone. It must be really, really rewarding. A bit envious.
Yeah.
Maria, how about you, my love?
As you just said, Jessica. So for me, it was one of my the first big project. It was a review of a probabilistic seismic hazard assessment, and it was a few weeks of, if not months, project long. And since the beginning, I gave my Arup gave me a lot of responsibilities. I was not expecting it. Of course, under their supervision, I completely built the model and also the sensitivities we had to study. And finally, I had the opportunity to see in practice what I studied at university, and that was for me a big satisfaction, the first one, because then I was stressed at the beginning. You start a new job, you don't know I don't know, and then you see that you're doing it, and that's a satisfaction.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's nice for Arup to obviously give you that responsibility. They obviously thought
I really appreciated
you could take it and you can run with it and handle it. So it's really good. But it's good that again you're with a company that can offer that.
And I think this is the way that you can make learn the graduates. I mean, you learn something doing it, and Arup is giving responsibilities for this.
That's really exciting. Again, massive. If I was a student listening now, to me, that's a massive tick in the box. Quite early on, you can get that responsibility. You're handed those projects early and making a difference already so early on. It's brilliant. Well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate that, and I hope the listeners did too. So, Carla, the reins safely back to you.
Thank you very much, Jess. Thanks, everybody. So what I like to do is finish off with key facts so that people out there, the audience, might not know about Arup. So I'm expecting good ones this week. Abby, I'm going to start with you. What is your key fact about Arup?
Thank you, Carla. So anyone who's really, really well researched will probably already know this, but I think it's really cool, so I'm going to share. So Arup's designers and engineers were involved with the iconic design of the Sydney Opera House in the late 50s. And so that in itself, I think, is really amazing. Most people are very familiar with this design, and on our website, you'll be able to see lots and lots and lots of information about this and how it all came to be, and how Ove Arup himself was involved with this. And I'm sure that on the GradCracker Hub, there's the links to sort of take you to those places, so do use that to get there. But then to sort of take that a step further, we have continued to play a pivotal role in the building's long-term development and preservation plan. So in the 2000s, we pioneered the use of BIM, or BIM, or Building Information Modelling, to work on the preservation plan of the building, which shows how we've gone from the late 50s, when that technology didn't exist, to now pioneering our new technologies and our digital focus to create a better work that we'd already sort of created or helped create in the first place. So that for me is something that is really quite interesting and quite awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Abby. Maria, what's your interesting fact?
I mean, as a key fact, I don't know, something that someone outside Arup may not know. For me, it's about the incredible organization that is behind Arup, the incredible communication that there is every day, every activity, everything they are doing. It's well thought. That's I think maybe it's not. I mean, for me, Arup is an example of excellence, and if you're inside it, you feel it. That's for me the thing that if you're inside, you can really see it.
Oh, that's
I like that. Hello.
You're inside it. Jessica's going to start crying now. Thank you, Maria. Kira?
I was thinking about facts that people from outside of Arup might not know.
Yeah.
And a really important fact, I think, is that there is a Yammer page, which is basically Facebook groups for the workplace.
Okay.
So there's basically a Yammer page for all of the employees' pets, where people just post videos and photos of their pets, which is really just exactly like that.
Like, can I join?
Eventually. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which has obviously flourished during the pandemic.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So what's the page? Can anyone see this, or have you got to be a?
No, it's like for Arab employees, so it's not open for everyone.
Oh,
But
I was going to have
Sorry,
a bit of a
Jess.
small
yeah, sorry.
Can I have a job just so I can show off my Oh, that sounds really
That's
cool.
sweet. I like that.
Thanks, Mira. And Judy, last but not least,
Oh,
that's a difficult one to top, is that one?
All right.
I guess a fun fact that people may not know is that Arup has the Guinness World Record for the longest toy train track, which we all built in the Midlands office over like a lunchtime. The whole office was like running around with like wooden tracks and had like the train run along the whole office.
No way.
It's quite cool.
That is pretty cool. Is that still there?
No, I think it lasted like a day.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think it was too much risk of people just stepping on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, health and safety. Be
Yeah.
careful, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
I know there were some good ones. Abby, just to finish with you, then, I know we've learned lots about Arup from all the graduates and of you, of course, as well. One thing that the students who are watching can take away with today, to be successful and get a job at Arup, what would the one thing be that you'd like to tell everybody?
That we are not looking for a sort of a tick box candidate to be successful here. There's a huge misconception in the market that you should be a certain way or have a certain amount of experience or do certain things, and that's absolutely not the case. If you are, if you do put time into your application, if you are eligible, you will be handpicked from all of the applications to attend an assessment centre, to be, to have lots and lots of time with experts in their field in these areas. And there's not you don't need to be the loudest voice in the room, you don't need to have any experience, it's not a prerequisite. We're looking for we're looking for potential and desire to learn, and desire for continued learning and development, as well as someone who really understands and aligns with sort of who we are and what we're looking to achieve. So it's not a one size fits all. We've got many different characters, and it's what makes it such a special place to be.
Yeah, definitely. And those individual characters have definitely come out today. So thank you all very much for joining us. A couple of things on your to-do list for the audience who's watching. Obviously, Jess mentioned Georgia and the societies on GradCracker. If you're a society member out there and you're not already on GradCracker with your hub, feel free to contact Georgia, and she'll put you in the right direction. Georgia's details are on the society page on GradCracker. Remember Hannah's blogs, they're all over the Career Centre, so get thoroughly research, read those blogs. It's really good content on there. The Arup webinar will be live tomorrow on their hub, so don't forget to rewatch the webinar, watch it if you haven't watched it already, reference the fact that you've met Abby, Chidi, Mira in the webinar as well. Abby will be looking out for that during the recruitment process. Also, the webinar will be broken up next week and will appear in the different sections in the Career Centre. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us. Next week we'll be joined by Kundal International Engineering Consultancy. So find out what life is like as an intern and graduate there. So thanks guys, have good afternoons, and we'll see you all next week. Bye everyone.
Bye everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.